Hey everyone, this is TJ Forrest with the Cougar Academy, continuing our tutorial series on how to pass the GED writing test. And today, the moment that you've been waiting for, the 5-paragraph essay. We're actually just going to talk about the basics today. And then in the other tutorial series on how to write a 5-paragraph essay, I go into in-depth on each of these paragraphs and actually write some samples for you. So be sure to check that out. So let's get to it. Before we dive in though, let's keep in mind that each paragraph that we write for the 5-paragraph essay, we're going to shoot for 4 to 6 sentences. Okay, so 4 to 6 sentences are going to count for a paragraph. Now, of course, a paragraph could be longer and it could be shorter. I'm sure you've read books where, a paragraph's been one sentence. But when we're preparing for the GED writing test, let's be sure to get in about 4 to 6 sentences per paragraph. That's going to look really good to the scorer. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here on the screen. And this is the outline for the GED essay, the 5-paragraph essay. And you can actually get this at the website, the Cougar Academy website, thecougaracademy.com. So what we have here is the outline for the 5-paragraph essay. We have, keep in mind that it's 5 paragraphs. So 1 paragraph, here's the 2nd paragraph, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Now, the introduction, what we want in the introduction is these 3 components. We actually would like the first sentence to start off with the thesis statement, which is a restatement of the prompt or of the topic of the essay. So in other words, the thesis statement is what the whole essay is about. Now remember, I'm going to go into this further in the writing and how to write a 5-paragraph essay, the tutorial series for that. And I get very specific on that and how to write that from different prompts. And also we go through some examples together. So this is just a kind of a brief presentation of the outline. So the first part of the essay, the first part of the introduction should be the thesis statement. That will be followed by your 3 main ideas. Now keep in mind that a 5-paragraph essay consists of 3 ideas. That's what the middle paragraphs are about, a development or an explanation of each of those main ideas. Now when you state the 3 ideas in the introduction, just state them. Don't go into them. Don't try to explain them or tell a story about them. That's what the middle paragraphs are about. Now you can put each idea in its own sentence, or perhaps you'll put all 3 ideas in one sentence and have some other sentences around that. There's a couple of different approaches that you could do to that. And once again, I go into that in the how to write a 5-paragraph essay tutorial series. And then it's ideal if we could wrap up the introduction with a wrap-up sentence. So something short and sweet. I keep it like maybe 5 words, 7 words. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Now, you've presented the 3 ideas in the introduction, and you will discuss them in the same order that you presented them in the introduction. So you'll take your first idea that you presented in your introduction, and that will be what your first middle paragraph is about. Middle paragraph, idea number 1. And you're going to start this paragraph off with a topic sentence, which is what the whole paragraph is about. It's going to be a statement, or a sentence rather, giving your reader an idea about what that idea is. And in fact, it could actually be word for word right out of the introduction of what you wrote there. And then what follows in the next several sentences will be the development of that idea, and or perhaps providing some detail. So in other words, it might be a mini story explaining what you mean by this main idea. Perhaps you're going to give some facts, which would maybe be a listing of stuff that pertains to that idea. Whatever it is, however you present that material, it'll provide your reader with evidence to prove your idea, so that when the reader is done with this paragraph, they're going to go, oh, I know what you mean by that. Say for example, we're talking about maybe the prompt or the question was, what are the qualities of a true friend? And I say that maybe one of my main ideas is that a true friend is honest. Now, people's conception of honesty and what a true friend is being honest will vary. So what honesty means to you may be very different than what it means to me, and maybe very different than my neighbor next door. So what we want to do is explain to our reader what we mean by honesty. So when I'm writing this paragraph on my first idea, which would be a quality of a true friend is honesty, I'm going to explain to the reader what I mean by honesty, what I value in that. And perhaps I always tell my the folks I'm working with is tell a little story that explains, that shows your reader, rather than shows your reader what you mean by honesty. So this format that we've done for this first middle paragraph about the first idea is actually the same format that we're going to use for each of our next ideas. So the next idea, number 2, we're going to follow the same format, like I just said. Going to give a topic sentence about what that idea number 2 is. So maybe if we're talking about the qualities of a true friend, my first idea was honesty. Maybe the second idea is that they need to be taller than me. So I'd say quality of a good friend is that they need to be taller than me. And you might think, well, that's weird. What do you mean by that? Well, that's what I would do. That's what I would do next in the development, the detail. I would explain to you why it is important that my friend be taller than me. Okay? And then we would do the same format into our third idea, whatever that might be. Topic sentence followed by development in detail, whether it be story, facts. We're going to provide some evidence to prove the idea that we're presenting. So let's go back and review really quickly. So we have our introduction with 3 main components in it. And we're going to present the 3 ideas. Just present them, not go into them, just present them in the introduction. And then in the order presented in the introduction, we are going to talk about each of our 3 main ideas. Each main idea will get its own paragraph. Idea number 3. Once we're done with that, we're going to have 4 paragraphs of our 5-paragraph essay. And then we are going to conclude our essay with the conclusion. That makes sense. And essentially, the conclusion is a restatement of what we said in the introduction. And I said this earlier, that the conclusion is actually so close to the introduction, you could take the introduction word for word and stick it right into the conclusion. Now, of course, we don't want to do that. You'd probably want to change some words around. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the main components of your conclusion are the same components of your introduction. You're just going to be restating your stuff. So, for example, the conclusion will start with a restatement of the thesis statement, a reminder of what the thesis statement was. So, for example, with the example that I was giving about what are the qualities of a true friend, I would say the restatement of my thesis statement might be there are many qualities of a true friend. And then I'm going to restate my 3 main ideas, once again in the same order that I originally presented them in the introduction. After I'm done with that, I'm going to wrap up the whole essay with 1 sentence. It could be more if I wanted to, but 1 sentence or so that wraps up the whole essay and kind of ties a little bow around the package of my essay for my reader. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the outline for how to write a 5-paragraph essay. Pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. So once again, you can get this outline at the website, thecougaracademy.com. Also, I will go once again in detail about each of these components and provide several examples of sample essays in the tutorial series on how to write a 5-paragraph essay. And in fact, you'll be able to download sample essays and sample GED essay topics that you might get on the test. Now be sure you subscribe, if you haven't already, to the Cougar Academy YouTube channel. That way you'll be updated whenever new videos get posted. Thanks for listening in, folks, and I'll see you next time.